Hey everyone, live from Mono Lake. I'm Ryan Burnett. I'm the Sierra Nevada Director with Point Blue Conservation Science. I'm out here today doing our annual California Gulls survey on the lake here. It's a long-term project with Point Blue. I'm here with Kristy Nelson, our project leader for the last 17 years, Annie Schmidt and Megan Elrod, who are helping us fly drones out here and do the survey. So just wanted to bring some of this to you guys today from a really cool location that Point Blue has the pleasure to work at. So just want to thank first our partners in this. So our partners are the Mono Lake Committee, who helps fund this project and oversees a lot of the ecosystem here at the lake. We also have the Inyo National Forest and California State Parks, who are instrumental in all of this project. So Mono Lake is a long study site for Point Blue. We've been working here since the early 1980s, working every year here since 1983, studying the gulls as the indicators of this ecosystem. And it has a really long history and a great conservation story here at Mono Lake, which was threatened by drawdowns of water that were endangering the ecosystem here. And the California gull population was being decimated by coyotes accessing their breeding islands. And so Point Blue's been collecting data out here. That data has been used to help inform conservation and management of this lake for the last 3 decades. And that's an ongoing story that you'll hear more about today from me and others that are out here. So I wanted to introduce you guys. So, well, first I also wanted to mention COVID. So here we are, doing a project. There was a lot of hoops to jump through to get out here, rightly so. So Point Blue has a really strict COVID protocol we're using out here. We're all wearing our masks when we're ever in close proximity to each other. Otherwise, we're outside social distancing the whole time. There's 4 of us out here. We camp remotely in Mono County here, stayed out of stores, stay out of, to not infect anyone locally. So we're being really cautious out here. And, because this project was seen as so valuable, state parks and the Inyo National Forest granted us permission to continue this work this year out here. So we were certainly grateful for them for that. Just want to kind of give you guys a quick overview of where I am. I'm out here on Peoha Islet, which is the largest island in Mono Lake. And so I wanted to give you, hopefully not make you sick, give you a quick view of the scenery. It's pretty spectacular here. So I'm going to switch the view around. I can do that. So here we are, Peoha Islet. Island. Yes, island. It's not an islet. Thank you, Kristy. So you're about to see Kristy Nelson, our project leader. We'll get back to Kristy in just a minute. There's actually a California gull out there on the spit. Some more flying by. We're panning back. Our boat, our trusty boat that the Mono Lake Committee provides to us. Awesome. Panning back to the Sierra Nevada here. Some of the big Mount Warren in there. We're kind of panning over now. I think Mount Dana just entered the scene there, one of the highest peaks in California. Still a little bit of snow up in those glaciers. So there's our 360. So where we are right now is we're getting ready to fly our final flights out here of the drones to monitor the reproductive success of the gulls on the island. So I'm actually you're looking out now at Coyote Islet, which is what we're about to survey with the drones, and is one of the nesting islands for the gulls here on the project. All right, so I'm going to pan you back to Kristy, and Kristy's going to give you kind of an overview of the project and its history. She is the world expert on California gulls at Mono Lake, no doubt about it. So Kristy, tell us a little more about the project, why we're doing this, and the history of it all.
I'm one of the lucky biologists that have had the opportunity, to work out here on Mono Lake. Let's see if we can. The project, as Ryan mentioned, began in the early 1980s, and over those decades, several biologists have run the project with Point Blue, and I came on in 2005. And it's been a really so many years of memories, and just being out immersed in this environment has just been incredible. We've had a lot of volunteers over the years as well. We've also evolved with technology. We're using drones this year, which are capturing images of the nesting islands. And we're going out in July now. These images can capture we count the number of chicks and are able to measure reproductive success. When this project began in the 1980s, the future of the gull colony seemed very uncertain. The Mono Lake ecosystem was threatened by water diversions, which were lowering the lake level, as Ryan mentioned. And then through the work of the Mono Lake Committee and others, the lake has now been protected and water diversions are regulated. But there's still a lot to learn, and we're continuing through today. And
yeah, so Kristy, tell us about how many gulls are out here. Why is Mono Lake so important for California gulls?
Yeah. Well, California gulls, being a colonial water bird, they almost literally put all their eggs in one basket, so to speak. They're nesting in these incredibly dense densities out here on these nesting islands. So just a few acres, a large proportion of the entire species is here. So that means the colony is important not just regionally for the species, but and
it's really important for the ecosystem here in Mono Lake, right? Indicators of the ecosystem.
Yeah, Mono Lake is a very simple ecosystem. There's algae in the lake, brine shrimp and brine flies, from which the gulls and other birds as well, phalaropes and eared grebes, come here in tremendous numbers. And
Kristy's watching a drone take off right now. We'll get you there in a minute, but yeah, she's a little distracted by the drones taking off to go do a survey.
Yeah. I am.
Should we watch? So yeah, let's turn over. We're gonna switch over real quick, live television here, because we're getting ready to launch. So Annie Schmidt here is our drone expert. Here is our drones. One of our drones getting ready to launch. She's got a tablet there with a remote control. And just a really fancy toy here that has a really high resolution camera on the bottom of it. You can see, maybe Annie, you could point to that camera for us down below. There's the camera. And then it's got, great communications on it. It knows exactly where it is in space and time. And so Annie, are you getting ready to launch that? Okay, go for it. I don't want to hold you back. I'm missing it. Where to go?
Wow.
So the drone goes up about 50 meters in the air. So then we'll fly into the colony, and that way we won't disturb the gulls, and then we'll drop it down to 35 meters. And then it will take a series of pictures. All this is programmed into the drones, pre-programmed. So the flight path and where it takes the images. So then we get all these images quickly and then bring them back, and through computer technology, we can stitch them all together quickly and create a seamless image of every one of these islands. Before, we'd have to walk each one of these islands and disturb the birds. And, in the last couple of years, we've been flying a Cessna over the colonies. So this is just a really efficient way to get really high resolution imagery. So then we'll come back and count these images. And then we're also working on some machine learning to actually teach computers how to recognize either a gull sitting on a nest or a chick that's been hatched out. So that's what we're doing right now. Annie is tracking her drone on her tablet and also watching it, keeping view of it at all times. So this is kind of how it works. So Megan's also over here right now, and she is flying a separate island. We have two drones going right now. It's on autopilot. I'm going to walk over to Megan and ask her how this is going for her. Apologies for bumping around. How's it going, Megan?
It's going well.
So do you know how many
done with my route.
Right. So how long did it take you to fly the route?
I launched just about 5 minutes ago.
So maybe about 6 minutes to cover an entire island. And do you know about how many images it's taking for this island?
Well, it takes an image every 2 seconds. So there are a total of 46 waypoints at this one. So yeah, I think it's about, it's a small one, so it's a short route.
Yeah, so maybe 150 images of 5 minutes every 2 seconds. So yeah, 150 images in 5 minutes of that island to basically create a complete image of the island. That then we can zoom back in and actually see an individual gull on the ground and in enough detail to be able to tell whether it is sitting on a nest or just standing there hanging out. And now what we're doing now, we did that survey in early June and we're back here again in July. Let me give you pan back out to the beautiful scenery, which seems to be a hit. And now we're doing the chick survey. So we would normally walk out on these islands and count every chick, but here we're flying over with the drones and we're capturing images so we can go back and count these chicks. So the chicks are all brown right now in their juvenile plumage, so they're really easy to pick out from the adult birds. So when we look at the colony, we can both get a number of birds breeding every year, and we can get the number of young they produce. And so that gives us a population estimate and also gives us a productivity estimate, which we believe are really good indicators of the health of the lake ecosystem here at Mono Lake. And so, nice. I'm just checking your guys' comments out. How's it going, Annie? Pretty good?
I surveyed the blue part of the island there, brown already. And now I'm on to coyotes. And I'm mostly getting pictures of the very edge of Coyote right now. So it's like half water, half island, but it's going to circle back around and get the entire thing eventually.
Nice. Yes, we create a buffer around the images we capture because the lake levels do change here. That is
On my way home.
the big issues. Oh, Megan says she's on her way home. So drone coming in to land. So let's capture that. I'll move out of the way. The landing spot. Let's see if I can capture that drone coming down.
Yeah.
Little white dot in the middle of the screen is the drone. I'm not sure you guys can see it or not. No pressure, Megan. There's only hundreds of people watching. So one comment about the drones is that you have to be licensed to pilot these. And also here at Mono Lake, you have to have special permission. Drones are actually banned. Public drones are banned here on the lake. But State Parks has granted us a waiver here for the important research we're doing. And so that's why we're able to fly drones here, whereas the public is not allowed to fly drones at Mono Lake. It is just for research purposes. So see, you're bringing in that drone nice and steady. Gonna land it here on the shore. Nice, perfect landing, good job. So there it was. It's about 5 minutes. 5 minutes of survey, 2 minutes there and back. And in 7 minutes, we've captured what would normally take a few hours of field work to walk on these islands. So it's really increasing the efficiency of this project and exciting to take our new technology that we developed in Antarctica and bring it here to conservation work in California. So, and such a cool place. So yeah, Megan's a pro pilot there, going to fetch her drone. She just landed. Yeah, so I think people were asking, did you hear the drone? Yeah, the drone has that kind of a whir for sure. It's pretty loud. These things they're small. Maybe I'll walk over. We can look at the drone. They're very small, but super powerful. You know, it's about, the whole thing is about 2 feet across, has 4 blades on it. And I believe Grant Ballard, our chief science officer, was here with us last time, and he was testing their maximum speed on the lake here, I think. And I think it's around 40 miles an hour these things can fly. So they're actually really efficient and fast flying for being a small quadcopter. But yeah, really cool. Okay, so we wanted to definitely open up to questions, so Q&A. So if you guys have questions, feel free to post them in the chat. Okay, so I see one first here is, how is this drone survey similar or different than in Antarctica? So I'll ask that to Annie here, but I know for sure that the penguin work, well, one, it's a lot warmer here at Mono Lake today than I'm pretty sure it ever is in Antarctica. The penguin colonies there are about 300,000. Is that right, Annie?
Yeah.
There's about 300,000 penguins. The gull colony here at Mono Lake is in the low 20,000s, maybe 25,000, 24,000. Its peak in, I think in the 90s or so was in the 40,000s. Is that right, Kristy?
Yeah, it was even up to 50 and 60,000 at its high points.
Yeah, so the gull colony has declined rapidly on Mono Lake here. And the reasons why, we're not totally sure. It's probably multiple factors that are driving that. Certainly coyote predation on some of these islands when they were attached to shore is a major factor. We know, for instance, that in the early days, almost all of the gulls actually nested on that dark island out there called Nedget.
Volcano.
It's a volcano, you can see in the background there. And that became attached to we had a land bridge to it when the water levels were at their lowest. And coyotes got out there and they decimated the colony, and all the gulls stopped breeding on that island and have never returned, really. And so they've all gone to these other separate islands since then. So disturbance here is definitely a part of the story.
Yeah, and those invasive weeds in the last 5 years. There's been an invasive weed which has taken over large parts of many of the nesting islands in the past 5 or so years. And in lockstep with the weed invasion, we've been seeing a decline in the nesting population size as they're losing nest site availability. And just this past winter, the Mono Lake Committee and Inyo National Forest coordinated efforts to remove and even control burn some of these weeds. They're an annual. It's similar to tumbleweed. It makes this tall, brushy, thorny mess. And then the dry skeletons persist for many years, the dry, woody skeletons of the dead weeds. And so actually this year in particular, these images are going to be extremely useful to measure the control burn and weed eradication efforts. And we haven't counted the nests yet, but it looks really promising that those efforts, that gulls are starting to return to the newly available nest site habitat. But that's a little side story about the gull population in these past 5 years have been really affected by invasive weed that we're working on to manage.
Awesome. Thank you, Kristy. Yeah, so it's, I think that's a good illustration of why Point Blue's out here. Point Blue, the gulls are really the sentinels of the lake. They tell us everything about the health of the lake, or a lot about the health of the lake. And Point Blue's out here interpreting what they're telling us and using that information to then guide conservation efforts, whether it be new threats like the weeds that have invaded, or the original threat, which is water drawdowns in the lake and the over salinity of the lake. So Point Blue's been out here for a long time, probably longer than any of these gulls have lived now, right? Like the original gulls that were here are probably no longer here, even though they lived 20 plus years.
Yeah.
We've been out here for almost 40 years now, doing this project every single year. And even in a year like this, where it was a huge challenge, we found a way to get out here and keep this monitoring going to help inform the conservation of Mono Lake, one of the unique, pristine ecosystems in California. Well, I shouldn't say pristine, but a natural ecosystem in California, a really unique place, hypersaline desert terminal lake. That has really incredible values, and an incredible place that if you've never been here before and you're watching this, I encourage you when things let up here that you find your way to Mono Lake. It's an amazing place. Find your way into the Mono Lake Committee and hear from them the story. They've been here from the beginning, helping to protect this place, and a really important partner for Point Blue, to maintain these long-term studies that really help us better understand places like Mono Lake and how to protect them and conserve them as the threats continue to mount. Oh, I hear a drone coming. So Annie's coming in. I better move. I'm standing right next to where it lands. Try not to step into the lake here. Back off the drone. You probably hear the prop wash on the drone coming down. Another perfect landing. Good job, Annie. Awesome. So we just completed 3 island surveys in about 25 minutes. And we're just wrapped up. Yesterday we completed the other islands. And so, yeah, we take what we used to take how long, Kristy, to do a productivity survey back in the day?
It would take about 5 days.
5 days?
Of 6 people.
Yeah, so going from 5 days and 6 people to 4 people, and I'm really just here as a camera operator, 3 people and, about 4 hours, 5 hours of work. So a huge increase in efficiency, which helps us keep these long-term data sets go. We're always innovating new solutions to be more efficient in the way we monitor wildlife populations. So this is really cool. And I'm glad you guys were able to be here with us today on our inaugural year of using drones to monitor the California Gull population on Mono Lake. So we have a couple more minutes left. So any more questions, we'd be happy, bring them to anybody on the team here, or I'm happy to answer them too. See if we get the gull. There goes the gull. Just scrolling down in the questions. Oh, so Lishka asked, what is hypersaline and desert terminal? So Mono Lake has no outlet. So all the water that comes flowing down out of the high Sierras there, I mean, we're basically looking up now at Tioga Pass. You're almost in Yosemite there at the top of those peaks, or actually in Yosemite at the top of those peaks. All that fresh snow melt flows down here into Mono Lake, and it has nowhere to go. And so evaporation over time makes it become far more saline, full of salt, and also full of, it gets hard as well. So it's full of alkalinity. So there's just no way for this stuff to flush out and escape. It just, the fresh water evaporates off and it leaves the rest behind. So that's why it's really important to keep refreshing the lake through stream runoff here, which is a big part of the story. So Point Blue has also been involved here at Mono Lake from the 90s, involved in when they rewatered the lake. They put LA Department of Water and Power put water back in the streams that feed Mono Lake, and that rejuvenated a ton of riparian habitat. So we were involved in tracking that response and helping guide the restoration of all the stream channels around here. So that's another part of the big story at Mono Lake. It's not just the gulls and the lake itself, but it's also the entire ecosystem here along places like Rush Creek and Levinine Creek. So someone asked, are you near any of the tufa formations at Mono Lake? We camped this morning near South Tufa, but there aren't any tufa formations in this part of the lake. They tend to be closer to the main shoreline of the lake. So yeah, the tufas are an exciting part of it. I can tell you that California State Parks is out here today, and they are banding osprey chicks. So even though this lake has no fish in it, the ospreys still nest on the tufa towers themselves, and so they're out banding osprey on the lake here. The osprey then travel to freshwater lakes like Crowley Lake and other places to get fish, which is quite a commute. How far are you away from the gull colony? So the gulls nest on about, Kristy, give me a number, 8 or 9 islands now?
Yeah, I mean, 4 islands comprise of like 90% of the population, but then including all the small ones, there's about 8.
Yeah, so there's about 8 islands that the gulls nest on, and we are about, I would say, from the island that Annie just surveyed, we're about half a mile. And from the island that Megan just surveyed, we're maybe a quarter of a mile. So short flights. And I think our longest, Annie, how far was our longest flight out from where we were basing the drones?
Just a little over a kilometer. We try and keep it less than that.
Yeah, so we were a kilometer or less. We try to stay close enough. We need to maintain visual on our drones at all times. So that's why we need to actually come out on the lake and base off of the islands here. We can't just do it from the shoreline. It's just too far from shore to any of these islands to capture the imagery and still keep track of our drones. Also, Window had a question, is there a risk of drones running into the Gulls? So part of our protocol for doing this the first year was to minimize disturbance. So when we did this originally with people walking on these islands, the disturbance was huge. And that's a big reason why Kristy transitioned the project to doing aerial flights. So what we discovered from doing some formal investigation of the drone disturbance is that when we came into the islands, the gulls, on the initial survey, when they were incubating, that the non-breeding gulls on the islands would flush up for just a minute, and then they'd settle right back down. And even if we came back again, they wouldn't, they learned it really quickly and weren't disturbed by it. Just now on these surveys we just did, I didn't see any flush of gulls at all off the islands. They have learned the drones, they know they're there. The drones are flying 35 meters off of the ground, and the gulls basically aren't flying that high around here. So we did see some gulls. Some of them got curious the first time, and they get, within 10 meters of it, and then they veer right off. Our drones are basically flying really slow when they're over the islands because we're taking images. So yeah, the risk is pretty low of them of having a strike with the drones. All right. Any other questions before we let you guys go? We really appreciate you guys spending a little time with us, being able to share this magical place. And it's an important place in the history of Point Blue and our work in California beyond the Bay Area. A really special place in California that you all should come see. And glad to share a little bit about our California Gull project out here and this cool bird species that is the indicator of the health of this unique ecosystem. So just thank you all for joining us today, and be well, and see you at Mono Lake someday.